All right, what's up, guys? Happy Tuesday. How we doing? MLB season underway, almost a weekend. We got, I think, 9 or 10 slates left for NBA, including today. So make sure you get in those last few if you got Iron Man going over on DraftKings. Interesting slate. Kawhi and Donovan Mitchell got ruled out super early. SGA got ruled out super early. Uh, I don't know. We'll take a look at the pricing and what we got here. But Nick, how we doing? What do we think about today's slate?
Yeah, good man. It's definitely interesting. I will say that Clippers game's not a part of the slate, I don't think. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
a good thing. Yeah, I think the 10 o'clock games are off, which I don't mind. Again, I'm
Okay, good.
juggling MLB at the same time right now. But yeah, the SGA news is huge. Huge. Excuse me. I think obviously we're getting to Hayward and
Mhm.
Giddy, but it's interesting. Which of these other value pieces do we even want to get to? I mean, Wiggins had a few good games with SGA out. We've seen Wallace look good at times, Joe good at times, but I guess we're going to kind of lean on ownership there. But yeah, pretty good slate, plenty to pay up for. But in terms of value, I mean, we have some decisions to make for sure. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, and my early runs of lineups, I mean, a lot of Gordon Hayward, a lot of Lou Dort too. Looks to be like one of the top value plays of the day. I'm sorry, not Lou Dort. Gordon Hayward and Josh Giddey. Um, yeah, not much. I actually am getting a bit of Lou Dort, but not that much. And then talk to me about the Cavs. I mean, Donovan Mitchell out. I think they're kind of appropriately priced though.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, we saw a lot of these games with both Mitchell and Mobley out. We were getting to Allen and Garland. I will say Garland's price on FanDuel,
Yeah.
6,700 feels too cheap. It's a
Mhm.
great matchup here against the Jazz. Spread looks tight enough. I don't know. I could see this game playing a little bit faster than Vegas has it with this total at 216.5. So this is a spot I'm looking, especially because there are good pieces of Utah as well. I know Kessler's going to be super popular tonight. Makes sense to maybe run it back, and Garland is kind of the most logical play. But yeah, I mean, keep in mind in going to Mobley and Allen, they also have Struce back. I know Levert's probably going to start. He looks good, but they were thinner when we were playing some of these secondary guys in the past. So maybe
Mhm.
don't get too much Sam Merrill or I don't know, Yang, etc. Just kind of focus on the starters, if anything, here.
I think so, yeah, and I mean, like I said, they're all probably closer to appropriately priced than they were before.
Oh yeah,
For Donovan Mitchell being out anyway, but I still think they're all. I mean, Garland is definitely probably the best play just due to the pricing. But the ownership isn't bad on any of them. I don't mind getting to any of these guys. Jared Allen, 9% on DraftKings, even though he's 7,700. He's 78 over on FanDuel, pulling 3x the ownership. I know he has power forward eligibility there, but that seems to be a pretty good spot to look at.
yeah, totally agree. Um,
What's up, Unicorn Love, Jose Morales, KT in the chat here for the Chet Holmgren take. We'll go back to OKC for a second. I mean, were you looking at Chet pretty hard today?
I mean, it's interesting. Like in some ways, you think he's going to see increased usage here with SGA out, but at the same time, I mean, SGA does such a good job setting him up in the paint. Like I feel
Hmm.
like it's kind of neutral of a development having SGA out. The other thing with Chet is his minutes are kind of inconsistent. I don't know. He's only gone over 30 once the past week or so, which is obviously not a great sign. But I will say, at his price, I think he's a center you can get to tonight. He just kind of I don't know. He's just another center, though. I don't know that I absolutely love him or don't like him in this spot. It's just he's kind of priced where he should be, and I don't think he's benefiting as much with SGA out as maybe we want him to be. I know he's been in tough matchups. He's taken on the Knicks, Phoenix, Houston, etc. This is kind of a better spot for him here against the Sixers without Embiid, but at the same time, I just have trouble trusting the minutes for him right now. So I like him, but can't say I love him. I do think Giddy and Hayward are kind of the no-brainer plays for OKC.
Nope. Love it. Very well said. And what was the third? I guess Clippers aren't on here. So,
Yeah, we can.
I mean, other injury news like Jokic and Giannis are both probable. Um, I
Lakers.
was gonna say, are Lakers on the slate? I think Lakers. Yeah, they play Toronto today.
Yeah.
Of course, LeBron and AD, they're both questionable. Let's see what else for the Philadelphia. Tyrese Maxey questionable. He missed the previous game, I believe. Jamal Murray is also questionable. Jalen Williams is also out for OKC.
Mhm.
Just so you guys know. And then RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly are making their return today for Toronto. We'll take a look at them. And Rashawn Holmes is out for the Wizards, which I mean Marvin Bagley was kind of chalky on the last slate. I mean,
Yeah.
no ownership today. I guess we'll take a closer look when we get to centers. Maybe this isn't updated for Holmes being out though.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, thinking about it right now, I mean, I didn't spend too much time digging into Bagley today, but yeah, with Gafford out, I do actually think he makes sense here. Um, Yeah, I mean, he's been producing better than a fantasy point per minute. Even if he can't get to 30 minutes, you have to think he does enough to probably hit value, especially on that DK price of 5,500. But yeah, obviously not the best matchup against the Bucks. Obviously, no Dame is going to benefit the likelihood of this game staying competitive. But at the same time, I mean, that is a tough defense, especially in the front court.
Yeah, I mean, I will say we have Marvin Bagley projected for 29 minutes, and is he the top value today? I mean, he's top six value on DraftKings at 4% ownership. I don't believe this 4% ownership is
That's
real.
low. Yeah.
But if he comes in lower owned than expected, this seems to be one of the better plays today. And then cheap value at guard. I mean, we're on value right now. We'll just take a look. Gordon Hayward, Lou Dort, Chetty Osman, Chet Holmgren, top of value. So we were asking about Chet. Model says very good points per dollar played today with a good OF index too.
Yeah.
I mean, Walker Kessler, Giddy, Patrick Beverly, Aaron Wiggins, Sensabaugh, Champagne. Not quite sure about Champagne and Sensabaugh. I didn't look into him too much, but everyone else on the top of value list seems pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I think the reason that Bagley's ownership down is because we have Kessler there for 4,700. There's no John Collins and no Laurie, which is why we're seeing Sensabaugh pop here. I will say I've been pretty impressed with what we've seen from Sensabaugh when he is getting minutes. He's coming off a great game against Sacramento. 33 fantasy points on FanDuel in 33 minutes, 36 over on DK. FanDuel priced him up, but I do have some interest as a value play, maybe as a way to get off of like a chalkier Dort or Osman. Osman and Dort seem fine, but that's definitely a guy I'd be looking to maybe pivot. Excuse me. And there was someone last night. I was like, oh yeah, it was Jabari Walker. I was like, if there's a chalk play on the slate I'm getting away from, it's probably has to be Walker in tournaments, and that absolutely burned me. I jokingly said he's going to go for 40 fantasy points. Sure
Yeah.
enough, he did. I kind of feel similarly about maybe Osman and Dort here, so I'd be looking to find something different. Maybe Sensabaugh's that guy, but at the same time, I mean, the chalk has been hitting a lot lately, especially some of these value plays that don't look great going into the slate. So I don't know. Proceed with some caution. Like I said last night, you're going to want to play those Osman and Dort type plays in your cash games, low risk contests. But if you're looking for a pivot, Sensabaugh should get enough minutes here, especially at his price on DK, to probably match them in terms of output. So I like him as maybe a pivot.
It's pretty good analysis. Nice. Take a quick look at FanDuel value, and looks like it's basically exactly the same. So
Yeah.
we're good there.
Yeah.
Let's take a deeper dive into guards. Joseph in the chat. I can't pull your. It's not letting me pull comments up today, but just want to say thanks to Chuck and Nick. You guys give good analysis. Appreciate you, Joseph. Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
Josh D. Why is Embiid questionable? That'd be fun. Well, why is he questionable? Because they possibly think he can play. Got to ramp him up for the playoffs. But I mean, do we even have Embiid in the model? I didn't. I don't think I built with him in today. And even if he is in,
5 minutes ago, they upgraded him to questionable.
okay, so we had him as
God.
out earlier. So I don't know.
This sucks.
I mean, we're not really interested in playing him, right? It's more just how it affects the rest of his teammates.
I mean, yes and no, because if they're playing him, he has to be 100%. Like, I don't know. Would they slowly ramp him up or just wait till he's completely ready? I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah, especially with Nurse. I don't think we can
Yeah,
really
Nurse
try to
isn't the type of
predict.
guy who likes to ease guys in. That's not really his style. So
It's 40
getting
minutes.
him upgraded right now at like 6 p.m.
Mhm.
Eastern scares me. If anything, maybe this means Maxi's out and he comes in which case he'd be even more tempting to play. So
Mhm.
this is a situation we're going to have to monitor. Boom, Woj expected to play. So yeah,
Okay.
we went from Embiid not being in the model. We're gonna have to keep an eye on this. But the thing about Embiid is, even if he only plays like 28 minutes, I mean, against OKC without a lot of their key players, he's gonna look pretty damn good here. And if Maxi sits, that usage is gonna get ridiculous. So yeah, let's wait and see what the data says. My guess is he's going to play around 30 minutes. I haven't looked at his price all day because he's not in the model, but you have to imagine he's someone we're going to be considering. Earlier, I was getting to a ton of Giannis, but now I'm
Same.
thinking maybe some of that ownership ends up going to Embiid.
So he's 11K flat on both sites, and we just did get news that Mo Bamba's also out today. It's not shouldn't affect Joel Embiid's minutes, but it did come with a note that Joel Embiid gave before he was just confirmed in the previous note said that he's likely to have a minutes limit per Coach Nurse.
Hmm.
And so I mean for Embiid, what 29 minutes is that probably a minutes limit? Because that's enough for him to get there. He's a little overpriced for that, but he's gotten there in 30 minutes, plenty this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still rather get to Giannis if he's going to be capped around 29-30, I think. But
I
I
think
mean, the
so.
ownership is worth keeping an eye on. Like if he's sub like 10% and Giannis is still up in the 30s, or we get word that LeBron and AD are both in, they start drawing ownership. He's going to be a decent tournament pivot, even if he's limited. But yeah, I mean, just hearing what you said about that limit does make me a little bit more comfortable not getting to him aggressively or anything like that.
Nice. Do a quick refresh. I can't imagine Embiid's going to be in the model yet, but we'll check
Yeah,
just
it'll
in
take
case
a
it
few,
affects the
I'm sure.
guards. So looking at the top of the guards, I mean, as per usual, Luka Doncic is not on the main slate, so we'll skip him today. As per usual, the guys we see at the top: Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Maxey, Josh Giddey, Jalen Green, Brunson. Actually, I kind of wish Brunson was a little bit higher in the model. He's only coming in for 5%, and I know he's playing Miami, but seems like a pretty good GPP play given the ownership. Jalen Green price a little bit too high for me. But I mean, Josh Giddey over on DraftKings at 6,600. Like this 21% isn't correct, right?
Yeah, that seems way too low, in my opinion. Honestly, I think he should be higher owned on FanDuel as well. I mean, he's been hitting value for that 7+ K price tag consistently, and that's with,
Hmm.
I think, Williams in. Coming off 3 straight games where he's around 45 plus fantasy points, playing more minutes, which is the key with him.
Yes.
And not a terrible matchup here against Philly. Obviously, with Embiid back, he's going to anchor that defense. They're going to suddenly be a lot tougher than they've been. But at the same time, I mean, yeah, he's not running into Embiid much. In terms of matchups. So I love Giddy here. I think he's underowned. I think he's a core play, certainly on DK. On FanDuel as well. I mean, you look at what else is in that range. Like, I don't mind D'Lo, Sexton, Reeves, some of these guys, but I do prefer Giddy over all of them, and he's really not drawing that much ownership.
Yeah, even sorting by FD value, I mean, Keontae George just beats Giddy by a hair, but I mean, Giddy is top of model value in both sites today for guards. So I think that's definitely something we want to look at. Pat Bev, too, pulling the ownership. I mean, we had a discussion last time Pat Bev was on the slate because he's electing to forego surgery. He has like a I forget what it was. Something in his wrist is not right. And so it's like he's playing with one hand. But I mean, if he's still going to play close to 30 minutes, it probably doesn't matter. Him just being on the court's enough to accrue enough fantasy points. I mean, last time he was in the 3Ks. Now he's 4,500 on DraftKings. So it's a different price. But are you into Pat Bev against Washington?
I don't mind it as value. I think he's okay. I mean,
Hmm.
McBride is a little bit more expensive. I still think I'd rather go there. But yeah, I mean, Pat Bev is the only real point guard on this team right now. Like, I don't know. You could bring in Connington Green, et cetera, off the bench, but he's the only guy who's really running this offense. So if he's playing injured, yeah, I mean, that's a fact. Like, it's not an if, but he's shown already that he can do it. Coming off a great game against Atlanta, obviously a tremendous matchup there, but Washington not much worse. So yeah, I think you can get to him. Obviously, at the price, he's not a priority, but we're not getting a ton of guard value unless you trust any piece of that OKC backcourt, not named Giddy, which I'm
Yeah.
having trouble doing. So I don't mind getting to Pat Bev. I think he's a decent play, but wouldn't call him core or priority or anything like that.
What about Keontae George? So I ran some FanDuel lineups. He is top of FanDuel value, and I'm getting he's my highest owned guard over on FanDuel. Are you the same?
Yeah, I think what I missed earlier when I was assessing him is that Clarkson's still out too. So like
Hmm.
my main focus was, oh, this front court's going to be good tonight. We got Kessler here, no Collins, no Marketing, but I kind of just glazed over the fact that Clarkson's out. Blame MLB game being back, I guess. But yeah, man, I mean, with Clarkson out, he's going to see a ton of extra usage. We've seen some of his best games this season come with one of Clarkson or Sexton out. And yeah, we're getting that here at home. He's affordable. You can play him at shooting guard on FanDuel as well, which makes him even more appealing over there. It's tough when you're looking at the game logs because he hasn't really spiked the ceiling in a couple weeks. But again, they're thinner tonight than they have been in a while. So even in a tough matchup against Cleveland, I like him. 5,700 on FanDuel, I would consider him to be a core type of play for sure.
Nice. And then, I mean, we talked all this about OKC, and we just completely didn't talk about Case and Wallace, who the model is saying is an okay play today. 13% ownership on DraftKings, 19 on FanDuel, 3,900 and 4,400. I mean, this is a guy that I think we've joked about fading, or I have anyway, for like forever. But if there was ever a game for him to do it, it would be today. I think I still question the ceiling, but I mean, he should have the opportunity today, right? Case and Wallace.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he has spiked upside at times this season. He had a few really big games against Memphis, the Clippers in limited minutes. He went for over 30 fantasy points, I think, at one point. But yeah, it was tough. I was looking into this situation right before we got on stream. So you look at these two games with SGA out, which were the 27th and 29th against Houston and Phoenix. So tough matchups. Wiggins got to around 24 ish fantasy points in both of those. Wallace had one really good game and one really bad game. And then Isaiah Joe had kind of one really good game and then one really bad game, kind of opposite of what Wallace did. So I don't know. I think Wiggins of the three is the highest floor. I think the other two probably have a higher ceiling, but it's tough for me to say I like one more than the other. I will say I don't want more than two of these guys in a lineup, especially if I'm playing a lot of Gideon Hayward. It seems like Wiggins is going to be on the wing more, even though he's going to be listed as the starting shooting guard. But yeah, if you're setting rules, I think you want max two of Wallace, Joe, and Wiggins. They're all good plays at their prices. I don't have a strong take as to which of the three is the best. Wiggins probably gets the start. So, like I said, I think he's the highest floor play, but at the same time, we've seen higher upside from both Joe and Wallace. So, very tricky situation there. Do like them all as value, but I can't really say I love one more than the other. I do know the model likes Wallace, though, which makes sense. I mean, he's had some pretty decent games this season.
Nice. And then Nick Base OMG thoughts on THT. Um,
What? Oh, Nick. I thought you were addressing me as Nick. Yeah,
oh
okay.
no.
Yeah, THT, man. I mean, when he was on the Lakers, they acted like he was going to bring them in like DeJounte Murray or something. Like
he
he was this
was, dude.
amazing trade piece. Yeah, you guys can always get, you always have career mode with trade rejected, turned off. But yeah,
Yeah,
the thing with Horton Tucker is even when he gets run, like we're not seeing him play over 20 minutes. So the most you could hope out of Tucker here is maybe 20 fantasy points. So like I'd just rather go to any of the OKC guys over him. I don't know. I don't like it. Could it burn me here? Maybe. And like every time I talk down on a player like this, they seem to go off. But for me tonight, I think there's enough value that you don't need to get that cute.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think I'd rather take shots on whoever starts for OKC.
Yeah, I mean, even Dunn off the bench has been decent. Like I know he's more expensive, but at least we know he's in the rotation consistently. So I'd rather go to Dunn.
Nice call. Yeah, he played 27 and 22 in the last couple games out. Pretty decent fantasy score. So Peter B. So with Embiid back, Lowry's a fade, right? I don't think I got to Lowry. Let me double check though.
He's still gonna start, but I would probably fade him. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I got a single. I ran 300 lineups with my stuff just to see. I got zero with Lowry, so probably not necessary today.
agreed.
Do we think Omarui will get decent run with Holmes and Kuzma out? Have they been going to him? I noticed Anthony Gill was getting some minutes, but
He hasn't been getting any run at all.
okay.
Yeah, I mean it's what's his name? Butler has, but he's a guard. Who's the other guy? Baldwin, but he's out tonight, so maybe they fire him up. I was gonna say I'd like Baldwin more, but I'm not seeing him listed as an active player. Uh, I like Omer Yui. I mean, he
I
actually
do
had
too.
one of the better defensive games against Jokic this season, which is hilarious to say. Pretty good player, and I think he's going to be a good player in the league. But yeah, for whatever reason, he's been DNP'd all month. Hasn't gotten a minute since the 17th of March. I don't know. Again, I don't know, a little bit too cute for me, in my opinion. I think I'd rather go to Gil, which is not something I'm excited to do either. But again, kind of similar to what we were talking about with Dunn in Utah. At least we know he's part of the rotation. Should Omayuri get more minutes tonight? Yes, but it's not a sure thing. We've seen Tristan Vucevic, however the hell you pronounce his name, getting run here too ahead of Omer Yuri, which isn't a good sign. So I probably wouldn't do it personally.
Okay. I will say it looks like the Wizards only have 8 active players available tonight.
I think it's 9.
Is it 9? Yeah, I'm not seeing Jared Butler's name on here. Is he not with the team? Is he a G
He,
League guy? Because it is the G League playoffs.
I mean, he's been with them. He played 20 minutes the 29th and
Okay.
31st. I think he's with them. I'd be surprised if he wasn't.
All right. I'm looking at one of these beat
The
writers tweets.
it's funny if the Wizards are like really trying to go for that G League title as they tank. Um,
Right. It's more
but like,
important.
yeah, that's ridiculous. But I mean, I think he's with the team. I'd be shocked if he wasn't.
Yeah, I think this beat writer for the
Underdog
Wizards
has him
just missed him.
available. Yeah, my
Okay.
bad.
Okay.
Didn't mean to cut you off.
So
But
they've
yeah.
got 9 players then. And if Amaru's just coming back from injury again, like he's still not guaranteed to play. He probably will if he's healthy and he wasn't healthy before, but it's probably just a little bit too thin.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, if he gets in the rotation, I do like the player. But yeah, I mean, it's not a good matchup first and foremost, and I don't know. I just have trouble getting there, knowing we have a lot of value on the slate.
Yeah. And then I did see Nick Bass your question earlier, cheap value at guard, and I think we kind of talked about most of it. I mean, Pat, these guys are kind of uncomfortable. Johnny Davis, I mean, 3,100 and 3,600 showing up near the top of value. I imagine his ownership will rise from this 1 and 2% that we're showing.
Yeah, he stinks, but we'll see a little bit more ownership going that way. I think. Yeah, I mean the OKC guys make the most sense. I think Wallace or Joe. And then Wiggins, I think he has guard eligibility on FanDuel, not on DK. But if you want to call him a guard, he's probably the safest of that bunch. And then Miles McBride, still playing 45 minutes a night. Don't know if you
Hmm.
call him value in the 5 to 6K range, but he's somewhere for kind of cheap that I do want to get to. Trey Jones too, obviously not a good matchup against the Nuggets here, but cheap enough that I think you can kind of group him in there. And maybe if this game stays close, he's involved because they have no Vassell, no Keldon Johnson. Should help his usage a little bit.
And we're talking about all these cheap guards on Washington, and I was just gonna say, like, let me just see which guards I'm getting the most of on DraftKings. And Josh Giddey is now number one. I reran it, and Jordan Poole actually number two. What do you think about?
Yeah, no Kuzma, no Tyus Jones. The usage is going to be there for sure. I mean, if there's anywhere that the Bucks defense is soft, it's definitely the backcourt. So yeah, I'm fine with it. Especially in lineups, maybe you're playing Giannis, looking for that run back. I think he makes sense. A little bit cheaper than Denny, who I do prefer in terms of raw points, but probably don't want to spend too much on Wizards tonight. So yeah, I do like the pool call. I think he's fine.
Nice. I'm just going through like my highest guard exposures. It's like Josh Giddey, Jordan Poole, Karis LeVert, Darius Garland, Pat Bev, Jared Butler, and Anthony Edwards over on DraftKings. Is there anyone else that you think that is really, really strong at guard?
Yeah, I actually like D'Lo a lot here.
Okay.
Even if we get news that LeBron and or AD are in, we've just seen him do really well against bad teams. I classify Toronto as a bad team, and he's just flashed really high upside at times. So I don't know. He's been kind of shaky lately, not shooting the ball that well. But if there was a bounce back spot for him, it's probably against this quickly and Grady Dick backcourt. So I'll mix him in. Definitely going to consider him. And then I think that's it for the most part. I mean, the Houston guys still look okay. Don't love the matchup. But yeah, I mean, if Green and Van Fleet stay pretty low owned, we could probably get there as well.
Okay, nice. And that list, I was talking specifically for DraftKings. On FanDuel, we already mentioned that Keontae George is going to
Oh,
look
yeah.
pretty good, and he's fine over on DraftKings too. Good GPP play on DraftKings. Middleton tonight. I think it's a good transition over into forwards.
Yeah, good segue.
I am a big fan of Middleton whenever Damian Lillard is out and he's in the 6K ish range. Now he's above 7K, so we have some decisions, but at this ownership, I still think he's a good play against Washington. I mean, what kind of spread? 12-point spread? It's not good, but it's not 16 anyway. Chris Middleton?
Yeah, I'm fine with him. I think he's a good play. I think he's priced where he should be. He's not like jumping out off the page at me or anything, but a guy who is going to see extra usage with Dame off the floor. Pat Beverly starting, not a point guard who demands very high usage. That definitely benefits him in a big way. So yeah, I like Middleton here, and obviously the matchup's great too against the Wizards. So yeah, fire him up. Fire him up. Excuse me.
Nice. I thought I was getting more of him, but I'm actually just with the field over on DraftKings. It's like my highest owned forwards right now: Giannis, Gordon Hayward, Bryce Sensabaugh, LeBron, and AD are in there. Chetty. I mean, let's talk about the cheap value. I mean, are you playing any Chetty tonight?
Honestly, yes.
Okay.
And it's just whenever he gets minutes, I mean, he tends to do enough with them. I think on DK, he is one of the higher floors for value here. Like, I don't know, comparing him to the OKC guys, I don't think he has the same ceiling as any of those guards, but I think he's probably safer. Just knowing he kind of does everything. Going to be ball handling here as well. I already mentioned that Vassell and Johnson are out, but they're also without Jeremy Sochan, and I don't know, not a great matchup, but we've seen him do a lot when he's on the floor. So I'm fine getting to Chetty. I do think he's overowned in tournaments. There's plenty of pivots, but in low risk or cash games, he's probably one of the first guys we want in.
Yeah, I mean, 36 minutes last game. I mean, is Sochan out for the season too? I think Vassal is.
Yeah, I think they did announce that today or
All
yesterday,
right.
unfortunately.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunate, but I mean, Chetty Osman, 36 minutes in the last game. We have him projected for 33. I didn't realize he played 36 in the last game, so I'm probably going to be okay with whatever Chetty I get. Hope it just works out.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, let's see what else we got here. Sandro Mamukilishvili. Why is he popping up for me? Well, power forward on DraftKings.
He got 24 minutes last game against Golden State. Again, they're very thin here. Obviously, Collins is the backup center, but if you can consider Sandro kind of a swing man, then I don't know. I guess that kind of justifies him getting into the rotation. They've called a bunch of these G League guys up, guys we've never heard of: Saidi, Cisco, Jamari, Booyah. Um, Ex-net David Duke is back with the team too. But
Nice.
yeah, I think Sandro's ahead of most of these guys as far as the depth chart goes. So do I trust him? No. But maybe you'd want a little bit of extra length here against Joker, in which case it would make some sense for him to get more minutes. Looks like Barlow's out as well. So
Okay.
he is the third string center, but maybe a backup power forward now in this situation. So yeah, it's not crazy. I don't think he's safe. Definitely more of a tournament play, but at his price, he's shown tremendous fantasy point per minute production at times. So I'm fine with it. And if the game were to blow out, he's definitely the type of guy who's going to play the whole fourth quarter.
Yeah, really good fantasy points per minute guy, and I kind of think his ownership is low on DraftKings anyway. On FanDuel, center only stuff, but
Yeah,
he has power forward eligibility on DraftKings 3600. Like I would expect him to come in over 20%, but I mean I have more than 20% of Sandro today, and
nice.
then Chetty or Dort. For me, it's Chetty. I think the model agrees too. Oh no,
Yeah.
model says Dort by a hair actually. I don't know.
Hmm.
This is kind of close. I feel like it's Chetty, but the model is saying it's Dort at a fraction of the ownership. So
Yeah, it's Chetty for me. I just think the little
yeah,
bit of a discount makes the difference there. Dort's super inconsistent. Not that Chetty's some super consistent producer,
yeah,
but um, I don't know. Chetty's actually heavily involved on the offensive end when he's on the floor. Can't really say the same for Dort. They're both fine plays at their prices, but yeah, I do prefer Chetty.
yeah. It's like Chetty is more the type of player to absorb some of the usage from the guys that are out. Like Dort, I know that like Jalen Williams, SGA are out, but he's not gonna
Right.
get like his proper share of the usage if that makes any sense at all.
No, it does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Chetty kind of plays point forward, kind of similar to like Josh Richardson when he's healthy.
Hmm.
Um, I like to target these guys because they ball handle
Yeah.
more than a lot of wings. So, yeah, don't love the matchup. Don't love that we're trusting Pop to give him minutes, but I do think when he's on the floor, he's definitely more active and involved on offense, which is obviously what we want in DFS. So,
And I just want to point out, Anthony Gill has actually shown up really well in DraftKings value. He's only projected for 3% ownership, so you don't have to play much if you're playing. And if you're only making a couple lineups, this isn't necessary at all. But if you're making like 20 or 150, play him in one or three lineups or something.
I dig it.
Jose Morales, how many studs can you fit in one lineup, and who would you pair up? I saw this question a couple minutes ago, and I just scrolled through my lineups, and like my favorite lineup, like just looking at it, has LeBron and Giannis, and then it has Josh Giddey and Jordan Poole. I don't know if those are studs, but like you can fit two top tier studs with Josh Giddey and Poole, or whatever other mid range guys, and then filling in the rest is guys like Gordon Hayward, Jared Butler, Bryce Sensabaugh. So you can do it today. We have the value. Just make
Yep.
sure that you're doing something so that it's not all chalk. Like I think I'm expecting Jared Butler to be kind of low on in this lineup, but I probably still need to change one guy to get just someone different.
Yeah, it's funny. The dummy build I made on FanDuel right before we got on, even before all this news, had Giannis and LeBron. So
Nice.
I like it. And yeah, we're still waiting on that Lakers news. Like if LeBron's in and AD's out, obviously his ownership goes up, but he's a
Yeah.
priority and vice versa. I'm kind of hoping they're both in and their ownership stays reasonable. I like them both here. But yeah, obviously, yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm reading as I'm thinking, but I like LeBron and I like AD against Toronto. Their defense is bad.
I agree. Taylor Hendricks, I don't know. Kind of the same problem I have with a lot of guys. I don't see a ceiling, even with everyone out.
Yeah, I mean, I have gotten him wrong a lot this year. If he's kind of your last piece in, I think he's okay. He's still cheap enough. I mean, we see the minutes are there for him. They're so thin in the front court without Collins or Laurie. And yeah, the Cavs are big, so I think they want him on the floor. Just kind of looking at who's on their bench here. It's not crazy. Can't call him a core play or say I'm super bullish on him against Cleveland, but he's going to start. He's probably going to play 30 minutes. I mean, he's hit value more often than not. But like you said, I just don't know that there's like tournament winning upside for him or anything.
Yeah, and especially like if it was a two gamer, yeah, we could play him with the hope he gives us a 5x, but there's just so many other value plays on the slate today that could easily outscore Hendricks at a cheaper price tag, in which case you're just toast. And so I don't know. I just don't really see the upside to playing Hendricks. And again, we say that kind of stuff. He's going to put up a career high tonight.
Yeah, of course.
And another one, Chetty or Champagne. I mean, it's Chetty very clearly in the model. Champagne was pretty high up here too, but it does prefer Chetty by quite a bit. You have anything there?
Yeah, I think I lean Chetty. Champagne kind of needs his threes to fall to hit value. I mean, they have at times. He's one of the rare guys who scores better on DK than he does on FanDuel because he is 3 point reliant. Um, I prefer Chetty of the two. I just think he's a lot safer. But if you're desperate for a pivot, your lineup's all chalk. It's not crazy to go Champagne instead, but I'm pretty sure he's drawing some ownership as well. So it's not like this super leverage spot that maybe we'd want. Yeah, 11, 10%. Not that popular, but yeah, I do prefer Chetty of the two if I'm choosing.
I agree. Corey, or well, Champagne over Branham. Man, Spurs are going to be a hot team these last couple of weeks with all these guys out.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
Branham shooting guard. I
Yeah,
mean, the
this
model,
one's tough.
yeah,
Go ahead.
model still says Champagne. Branham's pulling quite a bit, like not quite a bit, but a bit more ownership. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. I'm just going to side with the model. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'd go Champagne over Branham just because we've seen him spike those upsides a little bit more often. I don't know. I never like to bank on something I haven't seen before. I mean, Branham's had a few decent games this season, but we've seen more out of Champagne. And while I don't love either, if I'm choosing between the two, I'll just go with the model.
We have Devonte Graham projected for 17 minutes and 12% ownership on DraftKings. When was the last time Devonte Graham played? Were you looking at him at all today?
No, he played 18 minutes against Golden State in that game where all these bunch of guys seem to get involved. I don't know. I just think with the OKC value, I don't need to get that
Yeah,
cheap. I also
yeah.
think Wesley's still ahead of him on the depth chart, so it's not even a guarantee that he gets the same run here. So I don't know.
Okay.
I prefer not to personally.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to do it either. Corey Kispert for Washington. I feel like Corey Kispert, when his ownership dropped, he was kind of getting overlooked. 9 and 19% ownership at this price. Like, it's because his teammates are so cheap that we're more interested in his teammates. But I don't know. I'm okay with Corey Kispert. Not a super play, but not the
Yeah,
worst.
yeah. With Kuzma out, seeing extra usage, he's playing more minutes than anyone on this team, like pushing
Hmm.
40 consistently. So I'm not excited about him at the price, but I'm fine getting to him. Yeah, definitely someone I'd mix in.
Yeah, just gotta live with the nights he does put up like 24 fantasy points, which isn't gonna kill your lineup. You can still cash if you hit the rest of your lineup with 24. It's just, we're playing him for this 45, 35, 39 point upside.
Yeah, for
Let's
sure.
go over to centers. You have a top center today?
Um, I mean, on DK, I think it has to be Kessler, just
Mm-hmm.
because he's so cheap and they're so thin in that front court. Um, I'm getting to a lot
Refresh.
of Gobert, I think here.
Mm-hmm.
Still no cat. And while I don't love the matchup against Houston, I mean, no Sengun, they're very small. He's a little bit too cheap for what he's been doing lately. So I don't know. I don't consider Giannis a center. In my head, he's a power forward. Giannis would be my number one, but I really do like
Yeah.
Rudy if you're in the upper mid range. And then it's probably going to be a lot of Walker Kessler, too. I know he's chalk, but just tough to get away from when you have no Collins or Market in there for Utah.
Yeah, right now on DraftKings anyway, I have five centers over 20% Giannis. Well, so Giannis I have 80% today. Do you think that's too much?
I maybe not. I'd say like keep an eye on the Lakers stuff. Like
Yeah.
obviously, if AD's out, LeBron's in, you're gonna have to shift some of that, vice versa. But I don't know. He's my favorite play on the slate, so I'm fine with it,
Yeah.
man.
Okay,
If you're gonna take
nice.
a stand, why not take it on one of the best players in basketball?
Yeah, and it's like I'm going hard on Giannis and Giddy and Hayward. and then everyone else is under 50%. But those three I'm going pretty hard on DraftKings. I'm playing a little bit light today, so I don't mind going super extreme in my exposures.
Yeah,
But after Giannis, I mean, my next highest exposed, these are all in the 20s. Sandro Mamakilishvili, Kessler, Chet Holmgren, and Anthony Davis. And yeah, Kessler, Chet Holmgren. I think I need to adjust Marvin Bagley, and then we have Anthony Gill popping up as near top of value on DraftKings at 5%, 3,100. So I mean, this is getting kind of gross now.
yeah. I think it's still. This is tough. I think one of Sandro or Gill makes sense. Like
Hmm.
I think I lean Sandro, but Gill's minutes are safer. So I'm like going back and forth in my head here. I like them both at their prices. They're both risky, but definitely worth kind of mixing in if you're playing a bunch of lineups for sure.
I think I'm gonna prefer Sandro just because I need to boost Marvin Bagley. He should be in my top five. But
Yeah,
I'm probably gonna go with more of that combo, Sandro and Bagley, and then I'll get a few percent of Anthony Gill and just mix him up with the other guys.
I dig.
Um, I mean, anyone else from center? Brooke Lopez, Omarui actually showing up with pretty good value, 2% projected ownership. We have
Scares
Omarui
me.
projected for 18 minutes, so I mean, I feel like I'd rather just play Gill still, but I don't know. These minutes projections are kind of guessing, right?
Yeah, they are. And then, like I said, I like the player. I mean, he's a guy you could actually put on Giannis a little bit. Like he's a really good defender. At the same time, it's like I don't know if I trust the minutes. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather go to Sander or Gill. Not that I'm excited to get to either. I mean, we
Nope.
could talk about Chet a little bit more with MB back. Still not a great matchup here, but he's going to have to be involved if this game's competitive, and I think it will be. No SGA, no Williams. I mean, we have most of the usage going to Giddy. Um, and Hayward. But yeah, I mean, who's to say Chet doesn't take up more than usual? So he's fine here. Um, but yeah, I keep landing on Rudy, which is kind of crazy. I never get to him that aggressively. But I do think he makes a lot of sense. And then your mention of Bagley makes tons of sense, especially on DK. Um, yeah, they're going to need him. The one fear, I guess, would be foul trouble against Giannis and Brook. But at this price, I mean, he's tough to get away from, in my opinion.
I mean, so Chet is top of center value, and he has a higher OF index than Rudy Gobert at a cheaper price. But I do like Rudy Gobert. Just thinking about the matchup, like
Yeah,
Jabari Smith is not a good center. He's a great power forward, but he's not a good center.
right.
And I
Yeah.
mean, Rudy Gobert projected for 36 minutes at this ownership. It's definitely worth taking some GPP shots. Yeah, I gotta. He's like my eighth center on my list right now. I'll probably bump him up a little bit. And
Yeah.
then one thing I was kind of disappointed about, I mean, we talked about Cleveland guys being more appropriately priced. Like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are not showing up very well in value. Like they're on the front page of center, but I mean, there's 15 centers ahead of both of them. So are you getting much to either of these guys?
I mean, they're just kind of priced where they should be. For whatever reason, they've kind of lowered Allen's minutes the last couple games. I'd have to look deeper into that as to why, but I don't know. At their prices, I just think you're finding more upside elsewhere. Like we keep talking about Rudy. I think he has a higher ceiling than both these guys. I don't know what else do we have at power forward. I mean, I don't know. Some of these Knicks probably score well here. Um, Denny, I really like. Like, there's just options in that range that aren't popular that I prefer to go to because I'm chasing upside. Um, but yeah, I mean they're fine. It's just again they're both kind of priced. I mean, at least Allen's kind of priced to have Mobley out. I think his price comes down a little bit. Mobley probably my favorite if I'm choosing between the two. But at the same
Nice.
time, we're
Yeah.
getting Struce back.
Hmm.
Garland's actually been seeing higher usage. Lavert starting takes away usage from him as well. So I don't know. I'm just not really loving the prices more than anything. I think it's a good spot. I think they do well, but you need like 40 to 50 fantasy points when they're pushing 7 to 8K, and we're just not going to see that here probably.
Pretty good analysis. Yeah, I like that. I mean, their ownerships aren't insane. Mobley,
Yeah,
25 and 21%. But like, I'm just saying, like, if you get away, like, you still have a little bit of leverage over the field. The 6,900 on DraftKings looks good though. And last guy I want to ask you about. I mean, I guess two guys, Jokic and Victor Wembanyama.
they're both good plays, man. Can't really say anything negative about either. Obviously, there's blowout risk here. The site I'm looking at right now has just the money lines, not the spread, and I see the Nuggets are minus 1,800 point favorites. Yeah, that's
Nice.
16 point spread. So I always say whenever we get into football territory, that's probably not a good thing. At the same
Yeah.
time, I mean, if they blow them out, it's probably Jokic as the main reason that's happening. Coming off a massive game against Cleveland, which is obviously much tougher matchup than what they're going to see here against the Spurs. And yeah, Wemby's been tremendous as well. Should continue to see increased usage with some of these other Spurs now out for the season. Both excellent plays. I mean, the thing is, I'm just taking a big stand on Giannis like you are tonight. And if you're doing that, it makes it tough to get to these two. But if you're a bit more conservative of a player, especially mass multi entering, I think it does make sense to get shares of both those guys. Not going to argue with anyone getting to Wemby or Jokic. They both have tremendous upside here. I just think I want Giannis without Dame, mind you, over those two. So that's why I'm not getting there. But it's not because of them. It's more just because I really want to get to Giannis.
Yeah, I agree. And the field agrees too. I mean, those other guys are coming in with way less ownership. So it's worth taking shots on the pivots, but I'm just going to basically put most of my eggs in the Giannis basket. And then Joel Embiid is showing up in the model now. We haven't predicted for 19 minutes. And even with a minutes limit, I think that seems kind of low. But you can see where he's showing up. I mean, if we gave him 25 minutes, just increase these values by 25%, it's still not great. Um,
I don't
so,
think. I
yeah.
mean, I would love to hear coach speak. Excuse me, on the actual minutes limit. But yeah, I don't think we have to get there. And we did just get news that Davis and LeBron are both in. I'd be getting to both of them ahead of Embiid as things stand. So
Yep,
yeah,
100% agree. And just make sure we don't have anything else for Tuesday.
we get a
Tyrese
lot of.
Maxey.
Oh,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I was gonna say Tyrese Maxey is still a game time decision, so maybe that I don't think that really opens up anything that we're super interested in though.
Yeah, I mean Lowry would actually be viable if Maxi's out, even with Embiid back. But other than that, I mean, yeah, if Embiid's minutes are that limited, it's still going to be tough for him to hit value even with extra usage. But yeah, I was just going to say, I've seen like 3 or 4 questions about Cam Whitmore. I did just want to
Yeah.
talk about him a little bit. So yeah, he just came back from injury. Saw him play 22 minutes. Had an awesome game. Looked excellent. Was hitting his shots, rebounding, doing everything. Um, I'm fine getting to him. I do like him as value. I think he has a higher ceiling than those Spurs, talking Branham, Champagne, etc. At the same time, don't love the matchup. Some risk coming off the bench, but I don't know. How many minutes do we have him for? Because I think he'd get over 22 here. Probably gets ramped up to 26, 28, in which case he's going to be a pretty good play. So, yeah, I do like Whitmore. I'm fine mixing him in tonight.
We have him for exactly 22, and yeah, I agree. At 2%, like these are the type of 2% 4K plays that I like to take shots on. He can heat up, and like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
not going to work out a lot of the time, but who cares? We're only playing him a few percent anyway.
right.
I think he's a good GPP play.
Yep, agreed.
And Payne, campaign if Tyrese Maxey's out.
Yeah, he started last game with Maxi out next to Lowry.
Mhm.
I'd say
Yeah,
only if Maxi's out and he's starting. Off the bench, I have zero interest. But yeah, if Maxi's out, you see campaign slide in as the two. You could use them as value for sure.
yeah. I don't think. I mean, even if Maxey's could he? I guess he could. Could he play 38 minutes with? I guess Joel Embiid probably doesn't affect his rotation too much.
With Maxi in, he's not going to play that
With
many.
Maxey out. With Maxey out.
Oh, with
Uh,
Maxi out, yeah, I don't know that
yeah.
38 is something we can project, but yeah, I mean, over 30 at his price, I think he's half decent. Playing off ball too, next to Lowry, probably helps his upside a little.
I will say that with Maxey and Embiid in, we have campaign projected for less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's not. It's probably not great.
Mhm.
Uh, Giddy or Sexton. For me, it's not close. It's definitely Giddy, but I think it makes sense to mix in some Sexton if you're making a bunch of lineups.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's a FanDuel question because on DK the prices are wide. I much preferred Giddy on DK, but on FanDuel still prefer Giddy. I think he's under owned over there. Love his upside. He's shown a very high ceiling lately with SGA off the floor. So not going to say Sexton's a bad play. He's a good play, but Giddy's one of my favorites. So Giddy for me.
Yeah, DraftKings is a pretty large difference. OF Index, large difference. FanDuel value, there's still a pretty big difference, not as much as DraftKings. And I agree. I don't think we're getting enough of an ownership discount
No,
off
it's
Giddy
not.
to just pivot to Sexton. But Keontae George, if you want to get that exposure to Utah, I don't mind pairing up like Keontae with Josh Giddy if you're trying to do something like that.
Agree.
And then let's build a quick dummy and get out of here. So Josh Giddey and Gordon Hayward, first players in.
Yep, Josh Giddey, Gordon Hayward, and let's throw in Giannis too. It sounds like we're both on that
All
train
right,
tonight.
let's do it. Let me see if I can get positions right. Yep, Giannis in there. Leaves us 5,700. Did we want to go with that Giannis LeBron build or go a different way?
I mean, I like it. We're gonna be really getting interesting value, I think, but I think we have enough. Let's go
Yeah,
for it and see what we come up with.
we still have 4,700. All right, let's get Gobert in there. Just kidding, kind of. Can we?
I
Leaves
mean, you
us
got to go Kessler.
3,700. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
Kessler's
Kessler. Yeah,
47 on
Kessler.
DK. He's a core play there.
All right, let's do that.
I love Gobert, but yeah, Kessler is just too cheap.
All right, and then as for like cheap point guard value, I'm just gonna sort the model by value, and you have a top because now we have to go cheap at every position. Now you have a top
I
guy.
mean, yeah, it's not a point guard, but I think Osman's one of the next guys
Oh,
in.
good call. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Pat Bev, honestly, 4,500 probably makes sense.
Yeah, I think I'm in on that. Chetty Osman, we'll fit him in the util. You know, you guys, if you're making your lineups, play around with make sure the positions are right with the starting times and whatnot. We'll get Pat Bev in at point guard, and it leaves us a little bit of a. See Pat Bev 4,500. So we have 5,700 for the other guard spot. We can play like a Trey Jones, Struce, Conley. I don't know, or if you don't like LeBron, you can pivot off LeBron and maybe upgrade a little bit, get to like Jordan Poole and Karis LeVert, something like that. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Trey as the last guy in.
yep. And I mean, yeah, it's not a. Seems like a pretty straightforward day. Play the good chalk and then just mix in the other guys around him. Hope you get the right combo.
Yeah, this is an aggressive build, honestly, with the two pay-ups. I don't know that many
Yeah.
are playing Giannis with LeBron, so if you're getting to one of your studs and you could go a little bit more balanced, take a few less risks, but I think a lot of people will be going stars and scrubs tonight.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ceiling's definitely there.
And it's like, this is a larger slate. A lot of guys can drop 50 fantasy points on these
Oh yeah.
teams. So, and is this true? Maxi got ruled out just now.
Let me refresh.
Yeah, he
Is it?
did 2 minutes
Yeah, he
ago.
did. Yep.
Uh,
So
all
just to
right.
talk through this super quickly. So yeah, Payne probably starts now next to Lowry. I think both of them are fine as value. Lowry probably safer of the two. I know Cam's coming off the better game and he's cheaper, but if I'm picking between those two, it is probably going to be Kyle Lowry. Again, we're getting Embiid back, which is going to get into the usage of everybody else, but he's limited. Not really going to try to prioritize Harris or Oubre. They're kind of priced where they should be. But he healed off the bench, a little bit interesting. I just think he's too cheap for his upside, but that's a dice roll. It's a major gamble going to him. So if anything, probably Lowry here, maybe a little bit of campaign. Keep an eye on ownership. Maybe Payne gets more love just because he's cheaper, but I think those two make some sense now. Otherwise, not too much changes for Philly. Again, getting Embiid back definitely cuts into the wings and everybody else there.
Well said. And just last note, the Wizards are starting Gill and Bagley today. Poole, Kispert, Avdia, Gill, Bagley. Does that change anything for you on Gill?
I almost like him less, but I probably should like him more. Yeah, we're gonna have to get to some Gil. I'd say I'd
Yeah.
rank him above Sandro now. I know I said the opposite earlier. Um, if he stays low owned, that is. Like if Gil becomes chalk, I don't love him against Giannis and Brook here. But
I
yeah, I
agree.
mean he's flashed the upside. We gotta get to some Gil. I think I hate it, but yeah.
I can't imagine. Matt, dude. Yeah, it's late season NBA when Anthony Gill is chalk on a Tuesday. So uh, join the Discord, instructions in the description below. I believe we have Jayhawk in there breaking down some of this late news we have coming in. Join the model. I mean, you can sign up for a week at a time, $7 a week. So you can get this last week, and because the it's like when guys get ruled out after lock, the model updates are even more important. So you can
Yep.
take advantage of that. We appreciate you guys watching. We will see you tomorrow. Thanks.
Take care, everyone.